So I've just completed a week-long ayahuasca retreat in the south of France. And to say it was life-changing is a bit of an understatement. I'm trying to capture the words that accurately convey my experience. I'm left feeling deeply touched, healed, deeply connected to my body, to gratitude. I want to share a little bit of my experience, and my challenge will be, consolidating such an incredible and impactful week into something bite-sized. Right now I'm here in the temple where it all happened. I'll start by sharing a little bit about the journey and the construction of this process. So in this week-long experience, the first day is just landing. And then there are 3 days in a row where I take the ayahuasca medicine in an evening journey, starting at 5 p.m. and ending anywhere around 10 p.m., maybe a bit later. Then the following day, there's a sharing to kind of take stock and integrate the medicine. And then immediately afterwards, the next journey begins. So there's 3 medicine journeys in a row, each building upon the one before. So it's an arc and one process actually. It's not 3 separate processes. It's a continuation. And then the final 2 days are left to integrate, to land, because the medicine is still in the system and it's still working, even though it's maybe to a lesser degree. And it's guided by a trained therapist and ayahuasca kind of shaman and facilitator. Her name is Leah. She has this beautiful B&B in the south of France with a stunning lake, beautiful accommodations and great food. And I feel so blessed and privileged because I had the opportunity to do this as a private retreat. So I came here with a brother of mine called Rule. He's been in my life for the last 12 years. And he came and did this week-long retreat earlier this year in April and said, you have to do it. And my deep trust in him is why I came here and did this, because I have some fears of plant medicine, especially medicines that create a purging, because I have this fear and terror around throwing up, and not sure where that comes from, but it's been with me for a while and it's kept me from experiences like this. And doing this week just with him under the guidance of Leah was really, really special, and it felt like a real luxury to do it in such a private setting. And that felt important because I didn't want to be around a lot of group energy, given that's what I do for a living and my system is kind of open and I didn't want to kind of be impacted by all of that. And what was interesting is that Rule only did the first night, the first journey, when he realized, oh, my time here in terms of taking the medicine is complete. I'm going to space hold for the remaining 2 journeys with Leah for Christian. So I felt even more luxurious because the second and third journeys were held by the both of them just for me. So I felt this incredible safety and holding in having a brother that I deeply trust, along with a facilitator who's deeply experienced, who I also felt an immediate resonance and trust and a meeting point with. I could not have been initiated with this medicine in a more beautiful, safe, sacred and profound way. And sitting back here in the temple where it all happened, I'm feeling poignant and it's not sad. There's a melancholy of like, oh my God, just the wow, the wonder, the magic of what took place, knowing that I'm about to leave. So I'm filming this, just on the final night before I go to the airport early. And I don't know when I'll be back, although I feel like I will. There's this sense of, just this deep reverence of what took place and the heartbreak really of leaving one of the most powerful weeks of my life. What can I share about my experience? The first journey was a nightmare. I felt like I went to hell and back. What was interesting is that I was talking to Rule and other people, and they say, yeah, ayahuasca, you can have any type of experience. You don't know what you're going to get. And Rule was saying, yeah, my experience was super relaxing. The first one is usually a little bit more gentle. And I should have just not asked anybody and just not had any expectation. I came in super open, excited, light, took the first dose, enjoyed the process. And the very first thing that I encountered, it was fascinating. I could feel the spirit of this medicine arriving. And I saw her as this multicolored octopus kind of descending into my entire body and being. And I was delighted. I felt such a yes as this spirit came in and through my body. So much so that my initial feeling was, I know you. This isn't the first time we've met, you and I. This is a reunion. It was as if my spirit knew this spirit and we were doing this dance again. We have done this dance before. And my body easily surrendered. I was making sounds. I felt just naturally aligned to the surrender of this process. And soon it was time to take the second dose. So in each journey, there's usually two shots, basically, of the medicine. But as soon as I took that second shot, about half an hour in, as I really kind of began to fully immerse myself in the journey and the medicine was taking over, it hit really deep and I experienced terror and fear and panic. And what was amazing was to feel my body wisdom. It was so knowing what it needed. In the moments when it became too much and scary, I knew to reach out, even in this altered state. Because time is not time under this medicine. It's a multi-dimensional experience that's deeply special and yet in moments terrifying for me. Like there were moments of absolute meeting my demons, meeting my pain, meeting my anguish, hopelessness, suffering. And I was in deep compassion for why there are certain people who do this and will run away and will never do it again. I realized that it wasn't so much courageous for me to take the medicine the first time, I knew that my biggest initiation in my life, the biggest courage that I could muster, was required to do it again. Like, okay, after having a trip like that, why would I ever want to take that medicine again? So the first journey was rough. I got in touch with, the sounds, the screams of terror and pain and nausea, but so much purging happened. I wasn't physically throwing up, even though I was deeply nauseous. I could feel my body was like, oh my God, I just want to be sick. And all the symptoms of about to throw up just felt like it was there for the whole, like, hours and hours and hours. And I felt my mouth tingling and these sounds that would come out and these panicked screams as the invitation from Leah was just say yes to everything. You know, it's hard to say yes to terror, to panic, to fear. But I realized that these were the emotions that were bound, that needed to be felt, that were repressed in my body mind. I didn't know that at the time, you know, I'm not mentally thinking about that, but in processing it, this was really important for me to feel. And I allowed myself to move through it. And I could feel the purge and the importance, the resonance, the feeling in my body as things were leaving me. And I could literally see these energetic strands leaving my mouth and moving out. And yeah, there was a cleansing happening, but it wasn't necessarily feeling good. And what I realized is that it's not the ayahuasca that is harsh or terrorizing. The spirit, like I said, it felt like an old friend. A lover sounds strange. It's not that. It's like just a deep connection to something that I've known before. And the energy of that spirit is powerful and loving and gentle. It's the terror that's already inside of me that isn't gentle. So it's not that the medicine itself is harsh, but it brings to the surface my harshness. The parts of me that I have denied and buried, that become the terrorizing tyrant, the harsh tension of my mind. That's what surfaces. And I think this is why a journey like this, and again, it's going to be different for everybody. It's not necessarily for the faint of heart, because in my case, what I realized was that I have a very powerful connection to the divine, and yet that connection isn't always me feeling myself fully, deeply in my own body at the level of my young parts and my wound. So although I'm very embodied and I carry wisdom from the channeled energy that comes through me, I haven't done my own mat work in the area of actually feeling the deepest parts of my young, wounded child. What's fascinating to me is that I've experienced neglect, but I've neglected myself in not having taken the time or the space to really go to these depths, because I've used my time to be of service, to give, to be the healer. And although I pride myself for doing my work, there was a depth to which I had avoided my work in these most darkest places that the ayahuasca immediately went to. And I'm so grateful that it didn't pull me into a divine revelation of going into the cosmos and seeing the universe and how it all works and having a profound download, that would have been a disservice because I would have bypassed these other aspects. So I was deeply confronted by how young I went and how much I suffered and how panicked and scared, and how the moment I felt like throwing up felt like death. And then I understood that the ayahuasca, the medicine, I can fight it to my own peril. But what's really the way I realized I needed to move is that I literally needed to surrender to, not surrender as in go passive. I mean, it became a force that I had to go along with. So the sounds that I made, so when I was nauseous, the nausea was compressed energy, it was sound, it was the unexpressed emotion. So I started to realize that each time I felt this nausea, it was an opportunity to surrender deeper. And it became easier to express these sounds. And so just as I was about to throw up and vomit, I would get into this panic state where I'd feel my heart race. I would start to get hot and I'd go lightheaded. I'd be in that place where I'm about to faint. And instead of going into the faint, this panic, this scream, this calling out for mum, this like, I'm going to die, I need help. A place that I would never normally go to. But as soon as that came out, the nausea disappeared. And I was like, oh, okay, I began to understand that this process only feels really bad when I'm resisting feeling bad. And yet there is this this allowance that is being invited again and again and again. And it's relentless. It just kept on moving in waves. And I must have died 10, 20 times. Literally to the point where I felt so weak and I'd go to the floor and the life would just leave and I would just die. My breath would go and then I would resurrect. And what I began to understand is parts of me were dying. Some parts have to die. And to experience death again and again and again, and fear actually felt, and turning that panic but allowing myself to feel it as fear was healing. You may be wondering, like, this is not a good ad for ayahuasca. Like, why would you do this given this was my experience? But I'm not done yet. I wanted to share that this is just the first journey. And I went to bed like wondering, like, am I going to have the courage to do this again? I felt hungover, nauseous, and grateful that it was over. Next day, I woke up feeling groggy and like my body in pain. And I was like, see, this is exactly what happens. I take this type of stuff like plant medicine and I just feel worse from it. Like, why would I do this? This is ridiculous. So I had a rough start. Had a good sharing, had some rest. And then it was time for the second round. It was very quick to come round to the next day, 5 o'clock. And I was not in a good place. I was scared. I could feel my anxiousness. Like the excitement was not present this time round going into the journey. And yet all I knew was, like, if I leave now, it will be like an interruption. I'll never get the healing. Like, I can't, I'm now committed. I have to go all the way. There's something incomplete. And it gave me such a compassion for people who go to Hard IQ events, who, you know, are doing process work and they're on the mat and they meet parts that are really uncomfortable. And there's a part of them that wants to, you know, fly away or run away or fight it, resist it. You know, to experience that for myself gave me deep compassion and love for those who dare go to these kind of places. So I took the medicine and I waited, but I did not wait with relaxation. I was in a fight mode. My warrior came in. I was like, I'm gonna do battle. I was told, like, listen, when the nausea comes, let it move. Let it move with your fire. Let it move with your energy. So I was kind of like waiting for it. And of course, the time comes when the medicine arrives. It inhabits the body. I can feel myself going into this altered state. The nausea kicks in. I was told, hey, don't worry. The second time is always gentler, or it can be gentler, I should say. And you don't necessarily will feel nausea this time. But I knew, like, no, something happened the night before. It's not complete. I'm going right back there again. And sure enough, of course, it was even worse. The first half of my second journey was even worse. It was horrifically intense. I got the paddle, the thing that you used to whack, and I was just feeling this energy of fire, and this thing inside of me was wanting to come out, and I could feel this need to just express this rage, this anger that was inside. And I don't know what happened or how it happened, because these things just move in very bizarre ways. But I was told ahead of time, like, oh, you could do some deep shadow work in ayahuasca. You might, battle with demons and experience what that's like. So I was kind of half expecting, like, okay, I might meet a demon. But what I wasn't expecting was becoming a demon and experiencing a deep shadow as I experienced I thought I'd done some shadow work, but this was shadow work at a whole nother level. So I found myself in a crucified position, possessed by an entity, and I was the entity. And I was being exercised by the facilitators. And in that moment when I recognized, like, holy shit, I'm the entity. Whoa. To feel what it feels like, to be the very thing that holds me back, that contracts my life, the tension, the fire, the fight, the oppression, the dark. To be that, to feel what it feels like, to actually be that, not just have a concept of it. So that was cool. It was weird. And I literally felt this leave me. Like, literally, I could feel the medicine taking it away. And I died again. I died multiple times on my second journey as well. And then I went very, very young. And I could feel this part that was deeply neglected, alone, unregulated, shaky, feeling the tension in my nervous system of feeling, lonely, left, in so much need. And then Leah comes with the second dose. I'm still on my first dose. And I could feel the child in me was like, no, I'm resisting. I'm turning away. I'm not in my adult saying, no, thank you. I am literally in a shaky child's position, like turning away, feeling the disgust of the idea of taking another piece of medicine. And yet somewhere at the deep level of my soul, I knew that I'm not to take a second dose. And so it was offered again. And I think offered for a third time. And I just collapsed and I said, I can't, it's too much. And something miraculous happened next where Leah felt and attuned to that young part that felt it was too much and said, yes, it's too much. And then just held me. And this grief came through. And then the sounds of these wails, this scream of like that, all this trapped grief of not being felt, in it being too much. All the years of being left in it's too much and having to do it on my own just came out. And then I felt the relief. Then the peace came. Finally, after a full journey and half of this second journey with so much terror and anguish and sickness and pain, feeling cold and weak in death, I finally connect to the grief, and it's the grief that sets me free, and I'm in relief. And I am resting in that revelation, that relief. There's more that happened, but I want to share something that was deeply profound. I lay on my back towards the end of this journey, where towards the end you start to get a little bit more conscious. So consciousness starts to enter, and because once you're on it, it feels timeless. It's like it's body-led. The mind really isn't there. It removes a layer of the mind, the consequence of which some of the feelings are a bit dissociated. So fire, anger, rage, grief can move, but it can sometimes feel a bit two-dimensional. But towards the end of the journey, you come back more into the body, or I do, and I can start to feel my own tears rather than it feeling like it was happening to me or through me, but not really, I couldn't really feel it. But towards the end, I was starting to really feel the emotional content. And I was laying on my back, and I kid you not, I had a communication, an actual dialogue. I talked to my body, and I cried tears of gratitude for my body. Like, it shared with me just the simple statement: you're feeling all this physical pain. And the reason I'm saying that is, for those who may know my journey, I've just struggled with chronic fatigue and so much joint pain and neck pain and hip pain. And I've been on a 10, 15-year journey of different diets, supplements, focusing on the physical body, trying to how do I get out of this pain? And when I was on the journey, when I was on the medicine, I'm not in any physical pain. All my pain disappears, but I'm in a ton of emotional pain. And my body simply said, now you know that my pain, my physical pain, is a gift to you. Because I'm giving you this pain so that you don't have to feel what was too much. So all your physical pain is simply a reminder of that which was too much. And I don't know if that lands for you, but for me it was so profound, because I'd literally just experienced in this journey what the too much felt like. Like, for the last 2 nights, I was like, yes, I've now been to hell and back. I now know what exists in my wound. And you've been protecting me from feeling that on a day-to-day basis. Thank you. I was so grateful. Tears were flowing. And I felt this communion and companionship and collaboration with my body, and this forgiveness and this place of like, I'm so sorry and I'm so grateful. And I was so grateful for my physical pain that I welcomed it back. I said, I know you're going to have to come back. He goes, yeah, but I'm not going to fight it. I welcome and invite the pain. And I promise you that we're going to go on a journey together, and we're going to digest this together over the coming weeks and months, that it starts a new chapter for us. Because the ayahuasca, the medicine, it doesn't do all the healing for you. It doesn't remove everything that's like, oh, I'm done. It gives a portal of knowledge and insight. It reveals a preview of coming attractions if you are willing to then take the steps in your life to make the changes and do the work. So I was given an insight to say, okay, now I felt my young child. I felt my pain, my tension, the rage. I felt the wound, the darkness, the entity, the ego. Now I know what I'm up against. Now I know what and not just me, it felt like the human condition, all of us. I was like, okay, thank you. I needed that embodied sense of pain, because I work with people's pain all the time, but I got a felt sense of it that I'll never forget. I think this is going to just make my capacity to be compassionate and to feel others in a more deeper way. I just left with this realization that this isn't about getting rid of all that and meeting that in one go and being done. Like, it's titration. It's small micro steps, micro doses. It's time to remind myself every day when I wake up, my pain is not a hindrance. It's not something to judge. It's not something to get angry about. It's not something to comfort with food. It's to appreciate and say, thank you. You're a reminder that there's still rage, there's still grief, there's still despair, there's still sickness that wants to be felt, but gently and over time in a way that isn't too much. I terrorize myself by pushing and by not honoring that it's too much. And so the medicine I take from taking the medicine from that second journey was, my life needs to focus now on making myself the priority and taking this healing journey as my purpose, as my ongoing journey. And I feel hopeful and deeply, deeply touched. And I would say in the days after that realization, revelation, and communion with self, my pain has decreased by 80%. Now, it may come back when I start to get back onto the computer and my doingness and my work, but then it would be a reminder. But I'm able to drop in here. Haven't been on devices and phones or internet or connectivity. And I now know what that feels like, to take my time and to put myself first. And it's just deeply touching, actually. It's just really nourishing. So I went to bed that night. It was complete. It felt like I don't even need to do a third journey. It was so, I said, I got it. That was worth everything. I felt so grateful that it was like, I don't know, it was one of those miracles of like, I think I've just been given the key to healing my body, finally. And it isn't that much to do with physical stuff. It was just all so clear in an embodied realization. And yet in the next day, I just felt so good. I felt light, I felt tired, like a neurological exhaustion of all the purging, because I yawn and purge. It's not, I didn't physically vomit throughout the entire thing, but I vomited energetically for like 10 hours. I mean, it was just blah. So my throat hurts with just the sounds and the movements of what I was doing. But I did take a third journey. It felt important. It felt right. And it felt like the cherry on the cake. I wanted to just have an experience where I was excited again and to get a different imprint. And it was. I came in and I was excited. I took the first dose, and normally, Leah said on the third ceremony, there's only one dose. So I take the dose. I was excited, ready, dancing actually at the beginning, and then the nausea hit. But even though there was nausea, I navigated through it with more gentleness. That the whole theme of this third journey was, I don't have to work so hard. I don't need to do so much. That I don't have to fight and resist and get into my energy. I can softly be with all that is. And I was able to navigate that. The very first half of the journey was just, I almost don't remember it. It was just soft and connecting. And I moved through the nausea. It was there. It happens each time. I feel it. But it wasn't connected with the whole drama of the previous nights. And for some reason, I just felt, you know what? I need more. And just as I felt the yes to wanting more medicine, Leah had already been attuned to it and had it ready. And I simply, from my state of kind of like altered state, got up and the drink was there and I just took in the second dose. And half an hour later, it kicked in and whoa, that second dose really moves a lot for me. And it was intense. And I moved into this sick child again. I went so young, and I felt myself as an infant, and I could see my life through a baby's eyes and how they experience time and how it feels endless when they're in pain and endless when they're in joy. And I felt what it felt like to literally be like a 6 months, 1 year old infant, what their reality is and how attunement and parental love and being felt is so key, and what it feels like when they're suffering, unregulated and in need and sick. To have that experience is revelationary, I tell you. It's revelationary. And what was so amazing is that as I got sick, Leah came immediately to be with me. And again, this cry came out of me where I could just reveal my suffering. And this time, though, instead of being alone in it, I was held in it. And this experience of being held in my sickness in a really attuned way was so healing. And I was able to move through that without any further pain. Again, the nausea was the invitation to purge a feeling that was repressed. And as soon as I expressed the grief, the anguish, the panic, the fear, something transmuted and the nausea disappeared. I forgot to mention actually, because on this, one of the most powerful moments actually of my entire journey was saying no to the second dose on that second journey. If you remember, I shared like I was offered and my little child was like, no. And it felt so good for that no to be respected. When Leah actually said, okay, it's too much. Because I have enmeshment trauma where things came into my system where I wasn't able to say no, or if I did say no, it was not honored. So something was super healing about me not only taking this journey or this medicine and having my own journey, but having a skilled therapist and attuned facilitator who could meet my traumas in connection and be the mother to hold when I'm experiencing being sick and needing to be held there, or honoring my no and saying to me, yes, it's too much. Those moments of connection were the things that made all the difference. And it's exactly the same as in circle. You know, we can have our own process, but it's the stuff we do in connection that is revolutionary and revelationary and transformative to the deepest parts of our core and being. So after that period, I was still young, but I was now older. I was like a little boy, and I had a delightful, I would say, last part of my journey. Delightful. I was giggling to myself. I was having a party in my own body. I was a playful 8-year-old, making farting noises with raspberries and feeling. I had a hot water bottle that they gave me, shaped as a snake, and it became like my best friend and a toy. And the ayahuasca spirit, she came to me and she tickled me and we just played, and I felt this healing coming into my body. Like she came in and cellularly was extracting all the shit, but it was so joyful, and I felt tickled and released and loved. And then I went into a layer of getting older still, and I was able to connect to a sensual adult pleasure in my body. So I moved through the ages and grew up into this, just like really feeling grateful for what it feels like to have pleasure in my body and to feel my arousal and sexuality and sensuality come online. And then I experienced these yawns that were not just, it was like a yawn that could have filled the room. It was like a yawn that actually created relief. I felt rest. And I was able to experience what it actually feels like to feel rest, to feel a body that's vibrating with joy, but not with tension and anxiety, to be regulated and just in that soft divine rest. And in there, I experienced the divine. I experienced the divine in the rest, in that moment of peace. And I was so excited about this. In moments, I felt my mind going into, oh, perhaps this is what I need to do in my purpose. This is what I need to bring into circle. Oh, what? And I started to ask questions. And again, this very, very, it wasn't a voice. It was just this presence that just kept reminding me, no, this is the trap. This is you even needing the answer to these questions is part of the steward. It's part of you not letting go and resting. It's you not being able to turn off. Your purpose is to simply rest. Is to rest. That's it. That's it. Rest. And it was magnificent. And I'm still in that frequency. I feel transformed by the imprint of deep rest, the imprint of released grief, meeting and dying my ego death, meeting nausea in a new way, being honored in my no and making a huge step in my enmeshment trauma, feeling the energy of my father and the generational energy of that tension, and how that is the terrorizing, tyrannical, unregulated force in my nervous system that makes me seek out distraction, makes me seek out solution. It permeates the work that I do and makes it just that little less impactful. I realize that my gift and my work is still very important in the world, but it needs to come through this channel rather than this channel of tension, which I think it has done. It's been part of the frequency, and it's made it less impactful. So here I am, just closing off the integration days, and deeply grateful for my brother Rule, who joined me, witnessed me, and held space for me, and we've deepened in our connection, gone for long walks and talked about life. And I said goodbye to the ayahuasca spirit. Like I said, I felt like I knew her, and it was a a playful goodbye, but also a deeply grieving goodbye. I will miss her. She came and I was able to just thank her and au revoir. It won't be the last time. She is magic, and she is the mother. And, you know, a lot of people think that the spirit's in the medicine, right? The thing you literally drink. I don't hold it that way. The medicine alters the brain chemistry so that it can start to perceive into the dimension of which that spirit already exists and can now work with the body and the body mind. But it's not like the spirit's in the medicine. It activates the spirit that is already there. And then it emerges through the body, and it activates innate body intelligence. So if you're not deeply connected to your body, the journey is less surrendered and it's less impactful, actually. This is what I've seen and heard through talking to people, that it becomes really helpful to be in a good self-connection with body wisdom and to trust and surrender and say yes. And then it amplifies that. But the spirit is already there. It comes from the earth. And it just comes through. Well, it's always there. It's just the medicine changes the brain chemistry to perceive it, to feel it, and to allow it. It removes the mental layer of self-consciousness and all the rest of it that keeps that from being fully realized. So yeah, really cool. So grateful. This was a deep fear of mine to come to this type of week, and I now know why. Because what I experienced is not what I would necessarily wish for anybody. I mean, I wish for deep healing for the world, and yet not everybody is ready for this type of journey. There were many moments when I wanted to quit and was wondering whether I was going to do it again. It was an initiation, a rite of passage, a deep state of courage. And yet I feel that this is not just serving my life and my health and my well-being and my spirit, because I feel infinitely lighter and more connected to myself. But this now coming through Heart IQ and the work, I feel like a more compassionate and healthy healer for this. And also, if I ever have kids, knowing what it feels like to be an infant, to feel neglect, and not just have it as a word, to really feel what it feels like to be attuned, and to feel the lack of attunement, to feel dysregulated, and how I can't do that when I'm a baby on my own. It's made me appreciate what healthy parenting feels like too. So there we have it, my journey. Thank you for listening if you've got this far. There will probably be some changes coming up because I need to look at my life and look at my professional obligations, what I've said yes to, what I've said. I need to make sure that going forward, I'm only doing the things that absolutely delight me. I'll probably need to simplify my life some. I might not be able to do as much. And some of the things that I do will probably need to change, or include this frequency of deep rest, slowing down, lots of time, and And I feel grateful for you. I know this sounds a bit strange, but it won't sound strange. I really felt my tribe and those of you who care for me and care for my journey. I felt that level of support. I felt the love and the care and the fact that you guys were cheering me on. I was so aware of the fact that I'm really loved in my life, and that was precious to feel that. Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna complete and take a few pictures so that I can collect some memories of this beautiful, life-changing space. Yay.